We were talking before the recording about how our last conversation went and how I appreciate the fact that having a political conversation with someone who I can't tell their political affiliation is nice.
Hmm.
It's enlightening. It's not
Hmm.
often you find someone who doesn't align themselves with either side of the tribalistic nature of our politics. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. I don't know if I 100% fit that category. There's certain people I won't vote for, and there, I do carry some strong ideas that are strongly linked to one side or the other in certain areas. So, I do consider myself to be a left of center. And I think I think even conservatives, though, when you really dig, are more left than they realize. So,
Yeah, and I think understanding that from either side, understanding the perspectives of the other side, I think is essential to really having a conversation because
mhm.
conversations are the way that we figure out, what we can do about the problems that
Yep,
we have in this country.
yep, yes. I monitor all sides as best I can to get as best the best grip I can on what society is doing at the moment. And yeah, so that can take a lot of my time just doing that.
So what do you think is going on with society at the moment?
Um, well, I think the biggest issue is that we're going to through almost a second reformation. The printing press caused a massive amount of chaos when it was first invented, and it was there were attempts to hold it back, but it eventually became commonplace, and as it became a cheaper cheaper technology, more and more people got it, and the free press is what we got out of that, and with that, with all the chaos that the printing press caused. With the free press, we were able to find some kind of order. It's still extremely chaotic, even to this day, but we have managed to find enough order to maintain a democracy or democracies throughout the world. It's without that, it wouldn't have been possible. So we had to go through the pains that it took, and there was a lot of pain involved with that. But I think most people would agree that we've stepped forward a great deal with the printing press, and so we're going through that again right now with the internet. And right now we are at the chaos point where we're not finding the order that the internet should be able to provide us with, and so that's where we're at the moment, and politically. And on top of that, we have a lot of pressure to get this right. There's global warming and nuclear proliferation, and here we are. We're looking at more conflict in the world here. The Ukraine and Russia and China, and democracy is at a very scary point right now because it was never really, really stable. I think it was a bit of a myth to think that democracy was something that everybody wanted. And we spoke a little bit off this recording about how people are that's not their first choice. Democracy is nobody's first choice, almost nobody. There's a few people like me that really believe in it, but for most people, and most people I talk to, when you dig down, democracy is not their first choice because authoritarianism, having a one leader, the what everybody has their own idea of the benevolent leader, and if they had that, that would be their ideal choice because things would move so much faster. And there's lots of examples of the past to show how quickly we can change our society with a leader that has the right goals. And it's really hard for democracy to compete against this. It's extremely hard. I don't think there's many people in China right now that believe democracy is the better option than what they're doing, considering how well they are advancing at this point. It's a really hard argument to be able to say democracy would have gotten you further. I don't think that democracy even could have gotten them as far as they have gotten if they had democracy in their country. I can't even argue that. So it's really difficult to try to promote democracy as the ultimate alternative.
So do you think that it's even possible to have a conceptual benevolent leader that can lead to prosperity for not just a country like China, but for the betterment of the world? Because it seems that the concept of a benevolent leader depends upon the person who is um, casting their opinion of that person. So each person may, or each group, each country may have a different definition of what a benevolent leader might do or might stand for. So do you find that there might be some pitfalls? Obviously, we see with China that there are pitfalls.
Well, yeah, once again, if you look at the overall picture, it's hard to be able to say that like what they're doing with the Uyghurs or some of the other things that are happening in their country. Most of their people feel those are minor things compared to the advances that they have made, and it's hard to argue against that. So yes, there are pitfalls. Obviously, I think the leader of China right now, he's starting to show his colors a little bit, and I think as he gains more and more power and consolidates his power, we will see the darker side of what comes with authoritarianism. They're all people are flawed, and this is the problem. They're the type of people that seek leadership are the last people that we want to give that kind of power to. There's lots of good people in this world, and there's lots of good people that would not do harm and would do far more good than harm. But they're people that also do not try to lead, and they're the type of people that are not going to pursue these positions. And so, therefore, that gives a good argument to sortition. I don't know if you're familiar with sortition, but that's a lottery system where instead of a democracy, people put their names forward that would like to try out or for a position, and then it's done by lottery. And Malcolm Gladwell does a really good podcast about that, and it has some really good results. And I don't doubt that the world would be better if we did that. But that's not the solution I want. Um, I think another big problem we're having in our society is depression and the lack of people don't feel they have control over their lives or over the overall what's happening in their world. Um, the sortition system doesn't solve that. I think that I'm like I said. So let me promote what what I think democracy could be, and we are heading that way right now too. First of all, I want to say that right now the internet is causing all this chaos, and we're not finding the order within that chaos. There's various reasons for this, but there is actually a concerted effort not to find the order within the chaos because it might not be to the advantage of the people that are in power. And it's not just them that are holding back what the internet can do. It's everyday people. If I post on Reddit something along the lines of promoting direct democracy, the criticisms are come hard and fast. And the criticisms are that the people are not smart enough. Let's start with the way back at the beginning here of the idea of the entire concept of democracy. When the concept first came up, it was the business owners that were first promoting this, lawyers and business owners, and they were thinking of a democracy of themselves, not a democracy of everybody. And everybody else agreed with them. because the average person doesn't think the other average people around them are smart enough. And they think that at least these people have made some money. At least these people have elevated themselves in society. And for that reason, I would rather they made these choices, that they were the people that have more control. The average people think this. The average people do not trust the people around them to make the decisions needed for a society to move forward. And so that was way back when the first person, when the first words are spoken, that all men or all people are created equal. I can guarantee the average person thought that's insane. They didn't think that was, and it's not true. I mean, I'd like to point this out. That's not a factual truth. People are not created equal. People are born with spinal problems. People are born with mental problems. People are born, we're not created equal. The color of your skin and your height and everything else plays into how your life is going to, how you will prevail. We are far from created equal. But if we can absorb that as a truth to even on a superficial level, it helps a society to move forward. So if we take that as a truth, regardless of the fact that we know it's not, it allows society to move forward. And it's what we all want it to be. And that is enough. That is enough to make a difference. So when those words were first spoken, I'll guarantee that there was laughter in the room. Everybody went, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But today, with education and people growing up with this phrase and the promotion of democracy, looking at what's going on in the rest of the world, we were doing pretty good. Democracy was doing pretty good that way as far as changing minds, and attitudes have changed. It's hard to maintain your racism when you say all people are created equal. It's hard to maintain your hatred of others, right? So society does change. I'm an old enough person now where I've seen change dramatically from myself and from people around me. Even though I still know people that are racist, it's not nearly as prevalent as it was. And their attitudes have changed to some degree, and they're kind of scared to say anything, which is a good thing. Homophobia has definitely changed massively. So all these changes, though, only take place when the majority see it as right. There has never been any minority that has won anything without changing the mind of the majority. Um, and so we are capable of being sympathetic to the minorities amongst us, and so society can change. And it is fast enough. I don't know. We're kind of stagnant a little bit at the moment. We've made drastic changes since the beginning of democracy, but at the moment, things seem to be stalling. And this is, like I say, because of the chaos that's being created by the internet. Um, so,
Yeah, so before we go into exactly how we think that we can make these kinds of changes and sort of steer our society in the right direction, I think we should define um, what right is and what is prosperity.
yeah, you know who I think spells that out the best, and he's quite the guru. He fits the real classic definition of guru. He sells supplements and what have you. He's not too well known though. His name Daniel Schmachtenberger.
Oh, I love that guy. Yeah, he's
Are you
fantastic.
familiar?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's a genius. I think he's onto something for sure.
Uh, he spells out the problems of society so succinctly, and and so much better than I can. Um, he gets so close to thinking about things in the same way I do that I would love to talk to him, and I've tried to contact him, and I've had no luck whatsoever. But there are things I could do maybe to get into the realm a little bit better with the different groups that deal with them. Um, but yes, he spells it out. I would highly recommend anybody to hear some of his talks. He's been on many podcasts. He's He's more succinct than I am, but he is a bit jarbled in how he puts his information out. You really kind of have to listen a little bit to try to get the full picture. He gets off track once in a while, and I suffer from this as well. So I don't I don't begrudge him too much, or it's not the worst thing in the world. But if you pay attention, he seems to be saying everything correctly as far as what needs to change. And what really amazes me that he travels in the conservative circles. He's on the more conservative podcasts. But what he talks about to me sounds almost Marxist. It's getting it's a he's aiming towards a form of socialism that is quite all encompassing, and I agree. I don't see, but he points out one of the things he points out that is very plays very well with the conservatives and justifies all their moves at this point is they call it they call the what he talks about they call it Plan B, right? Or not plan. I'm sorry, not Plan B.
Plan
Game
A
B.
or game A
No,
and game B, right?
Game B. Right. We're
Yeah.
playing Game A, and we need to move to Game B. And Game B, they talk about anti-rivalry, no rivalrous activity, or try to not be rivalrous amongst our fellow man. And so, I mean, really, it comes down to treating everybody like family, or at least what we think family should be, because not all families are anti-rivalry. Let me tell you. um, so, but they're very good points, and I do believe he is correct that we need to move in this direction. Whether or not we ever get there, I think it's far fetched to think that we're going to ever get a fully anti-rivalry society, anti-rivalrous society. But that's the direction we need to move. There's no doubt about that. But so the main point he makes, and using the term game A and game B really makes this simple. He points out that if everybody in the world is playing game A, and then you realize game B is a better idea, right? So you start playing game B, you'll be crushed like a cockroach by all the game A players out there. Game B can only be done when a large enough percentage of the population are going to switch to game B. And the people that play game B prior are just losers. They will get crumpled. They will get, and I see this all the time. It's actually very true. I see people that think, I have a friend that lives on a commune in British Columbia, and he talks about this is the way the world has to be. We need to all, kind of move into nature and be able. So he does he wants to live by example. So he does, but living by example means not being on Facebook all the time, not being on Twitter all the time. It's living with nature and everything else, right? And it's gardening and everything else. But if nobody sees it, and nobody can even can measure what good he's doing or how that would be better, and he's not communicating that to other people, and traveling to the different big festivals about the world and making the world better and saving the climate and everything else, if he's not there, then nobody sees it. It doesn't go anywhere. He's the game B player in game A, and everybody's busy playing their game A and not paying any attention, right? He doesn't exist. So, I mean, this is exactly it. People say we got to start small and build our own little communities and let them build. By the time you do that, all the game A players, though, are buying up the world, and you're barely able to get this little commune thing running. And you're not making an example. It's like democracy against China at the moment. We're not making it. You can't make a good example. And therefore, it's really hard to win the argument, to win people over. People aren't coming to you in droves to do this because they don't even see you. And they're busy playing their game lives, right? So, yeah, so that he points that out very, very well. And personally, I do see a way around this. I think we can slowly change the attitudes in society more towards a game A or to a game B attitude. Um, what does that require? That requires us giving more credence to our fellow human being as far as their thoughts and concerns. And the way to do this is actually measuring public opinion. I was saying earlier that gay marriage was a great example. Obama could have made gay marriage legal and right in his first term, his first day. I think it was quite obvious at this point that society had changed, that the majority wanted gay marriage at that point. It took some time before he felt comfortable as a politician, and he could really see that there was enough backing behind him that he could make this move without it being an issue at all. Right? He did it when it was extremely safe. It was not a risk at all politically to him. By this, we could have had it earlier. We could have had what 4 or 5 years earlier, if or 6 or 7. I don't know exactly what the math worked out to, but quite a bit earlier. If we were measuring public opinion properly at the time, then a politician would not have been shy to make that leap as soon as he could see the numbers changing. He doesn't. There wouldn't be the hesitation there. Like I said, these things only change when a majority wants it to change. But sometimes it has to go well beyond the majority before politicians clue into this, right? The same thing can be said for climate action, action on climate change. The public has to be extremely loud before the politicians are going to move, because there's a whole bunch of negatives against their moving at all on this. The oil companies and everything else, the lobbyists, all the rest of this. We got to be loud enough to overcome all of that, right? Whereas if we were measuring public opinion, and they don't want to do it because they don't want that in their face, right? But if we were properly measuring public opinion, we would have been moving a lot harder and a lot faster on this. I have one particular pet peeve on climate change and what should be done. That is that I feel very confident would go over very well in the public, but nobody's looking to measure this one right now. And that is how open the public is to the idea of increasing next generation nuclear. There is a new generation that's coming down the road, and they are working on it now, finally, thank God. But it's been slow and long, and I've been waiting for this for most of my life. And, way we did nuclear in the past was wrong. And we can do nuclear smart. And even if eventually we want to get off of nuclear, eventually it's the interim thing we need to get us through global warming. So solar is not there. Solar's not there. Wind's not there. It's not going to fucking save us. Michael Moore did about 6-8 months ago, almost a year ago, him and another guy, but with his support, put out a video about what a lie solar is and what a lie wind is, and batteries. This is not going to save us, right? We need something bigger, and we got it. We have most of the technology there. We need to actually develop the next generation of nuclear. And with the next generation of nuclear, we actually reduce the amount of nuclear waste there is in the world today, because you can burn it. You can burn more of it. So we can take the nuclear waste we already have today. So that's not an issue anymore, because we can take the nuclear waste we have today and we can reduce it to 1/10 of what it is. It's not garbage. It's reusable. So anyway, that's a pet peeve of mine on the side that I've been monitoring this for the last couple of decades now, and you can talk about nuclear now, and almost nobody speaks up and says, "Oh, we're done with nuclear. That's crazy talk," and that's almost nobody. Most people don't speak up at all, and when they do, they start talking about the new nuclear, the next generation. And this is a trend that I've noticed here in Alberta and Canada. They made an announcement to our premier and the premier of Newfoundland and of Ontario. I know Toronto, yeah, Ontario. Anyway, they made announcements about a year ago that they were going with small stage nuclear. And then there was also an announcement that there's going to be development on the next stage of nuclear out of a company, and I think they're in Nova Scotia. And there's no fanfare when they make this announcement. It's very, it's on the news, but they don't talk very much about it. There's a quick little announcement, and there's no uproar. It's as if they're making this announcement that they're worried about the backlash, but there's none. It's silent. It's crickets. You don't have anti-nukers out there anymore going no more nukes. This is if some politician were to wake up to this, he could make a whole career on this. But so anyway, this is where we're not measuring public opinion enough, and that's a tangent. So I want to get back onto real things, but yeah. Anyway, if we're measuring public opinion properly, we would be like China. We would be moving faster. Things could move much, much quicker in our society. We could compete with these authoritarian dictatorships. And we could put up a good show so that we look like the better alternative for countries that are kind of waning and going, which way should we go with this? Is it worth my effort to try to promote this democracy that they haven't moved in 40 years. They haven't done anything significant in 40 years.
So where does it start? How do we begin to gauge public opinion more? Is it through education?
Yes. Well, education is always the big obstacle whenever. And Daniel Schmuchtenberger kind of hits this one at a wall, kind of like a wall at some point in his discussions too. And a lot of people, they think that we can't move forward until the public is educated to a certain degree. That goes right back to Marx and Kuhnen, I think is his name. He was the one pushing for more public opinion, more public input on governing their world. But Marx and them, they didn't think that was a good idea, and a lot of them, they're not big on democracy for the same reasons I'm talking about. And their holdback is when we get the public educated, then we can have real democracy, but not until the public is educated. Well, who decides when the public is educated? What's enough? It's been how long? We were talking almost a century since they were talking about it. We're now at a point, and the same thing during the French Revolution. They were going, well, when the public is educated, then we can allow them more say in what's going on. And this was the general thought process of the public, not of the elites. This is the general thought process of the public, that when the public is educated more, then we can do a real democracy. Well, when does that time come? It's been almost a century. Aren't we a lot smarter now? Right? So the point is that we can't, there is no point that we are educated enough. What we need is real world experience. So when we start judging, and I'm going to start talking about judgment here for a minute, because this is an issue that I think everybody says, please don't judge me, and everybody's always worried about being judged. And the fact of the matter is, we judge everything. That's what we do. As soon as you spot something, as soon as you look at something, a person, an object, anything, you are judging it. You are judging how it can be used for you, how you can use that thing, how it plays into your life. We are judging all the time. That's what we are here to do. The internet takes very big, it strains itself trying not to be judgy. And that's the problem. That's part of the problem, right? We don't want to allow people to, give their full opinion on things. That's too judgmental, right? The fact of the matter is, we need to wake up to the fact that we're all judging already. We're doing it already. Be better judges. That's what really what it comes down to. Being a better judge, being a more sympathetic judge. being a more open-minded judge. Uh, this is what it comes down to. But don't deny the fact or hide the fact or try to, go with it. We need to expand on our ability to judge. So, my plan. So, um, let me start with nobody asked us if we wanted the printing press. It was imposed upon us. Nobody asked us if we wanted the internet. It was imposed upon us. Nobody asked us if we wanted Facebook or Twitter. It was imposed upon us. We can do the same with the next step, and I think it needs to happen. So the next step is it's simply to do the same thing that Facebook and Twitter and all these others are doing, where people are putting their opinions out there, but we need more data to go with those opinions. We need to know who's saying it, what kind of people there are, how many people back them, what percentage of the society does that equate to, what the demographics does that fit into, what, geographically, how does that fit into things? We need all the data. So I want to start something it's basically Yelp. It's a rating system. And all of our rating systems right now are flawed. So this makes it wide open for a new kind of rating system. They're all flawed because they all have to make money. So they are put in place for a reason, and it's either to make money or to make their money stream from some other source work smoothly. So Yelp needs to get advertisers and things like this, so their rating system can be manipulated because of their fact that they need to make money. And and we all know this. We all know that all these rating systems are flawed. There's in-house rating systems from Uber and Airbnb, and of course they have their own reasons to screw around with these things because it's all there to make their business flow, right? So they're all flawed. So if we build a rating system that that is publicly owned and publicly controlled and does not rely on income from outside sources, whether it be donation or whatever system we can come up with to finance this thing, which I can get to in a while. This thing will actually generate its own money to an extreme eventually. So be able to pay for itself very easily. So we build a rating system that people first of all can trust because it's not run by a corporate entity that we're going to have our reasons for doing this right out on our sleeve. We're doing it for the public good, so we can measure public opinion. This is the whole sole purpose, right? So therefore, people should be able to trust us, and over time they will. So we build a rating system. Now there's a rating system on everything. We're on absolutely everything. So you can rate a product. You could rate we will be discouraging rating people that are not in the public eye, but virtually anybody that's in the public eye is up for grabs as far as opinions and rating them in any way, shape, or form. You don't escape this though, getting rated. You will be rated in many, many different ways, although it might not, although it probably won't be directed to you as an individual. It'll be directed to you as a demographic. So your demographic that you will be changing the ratings on. So uh, so the idea is to build this rating system where people can rate anything, and we're going to and there's no commenting here. You can put an opinion about another opinion, but you're not it's not a comment oriented type of system. So we're linked to everything else. So you see something on Facebook, you see something on Twitter, you can comment about it or put an opinion about it on our system here. Now, when you do this, So the incentive to do this, first of all, is the same incentive that we get with rating systems right now. So people they want to tell the world what the greatest movie is, or where the greatest restaurant is, or stuff like this, right? So this is the incentive for people to use our system now. And as it grows and things really get on people's minds, and they want a place to put their opinions in a very permanent manner, this is the place to do it. So something happens on the news, somebody says something that gets you irate. This is where you go and put your opinion. As it grows, it will become the source for data. As right now, news organizations have been very screwed up with polling. And polling, though, takes up a great deal of airtime on in most news organizations because it's their best source of data on the public. We will become that source of data. As we become that source of data to news organizations, then they owe us. So anybody that is using our data, they pay for polling right now. So there's no reason that they shouldn't pay us for that data that they are collecting. And this is one of the first ways that we start making money with this system in a way that is not biased and in a way that it seems fair to everybody.
So, within a rating system like this, I mean, as we've seen plenty of times, and as we see more so now, and Daniel Schmachtenberger goes over this, as well as Tristan Harris and some other people
Yeah, yeah,
within his
yeah.
realm. Um, how does this not get hijacked by the powers that be, and how does it not algorithmically benefit a certain group that decides to take control over it?
Yes. How does somebody not? Well, first of all, the main way is that it's this we're going to build this as a publicly owned entity, and it will be controlled by the public, by its users. It is a rating system, so therefore it becomes very easy to be able to rate how we are working, how the people in the various positions that are being run within our organization. We can vote on who's going to run the place. We can vote on different aspects and everything that has to do. Our biggest Achilles heel is algorithms. Yes, our connection, the people's connection between the data and themselves is the search engine. So we're going to have to keep that as open sourced as possible, everything as transparent as possible. But that's not unheard of. And other than that, the people that are controlling that stuff is us. We as the public, if there's something we need to change in the algorithm, we as the public, we're going to be involved with what needs to be changed in the algorithm. This is how we maintain trust and how we make sure that it's us in control the entire time. That touches on judgment again. And I just wanted to point out that as far as building trust, how we do that is this will become the first publicly owned and operated worldwide institution. Institutions are what make society possible. And the stronger and the better the institutions, the better and the stronger the society. Now, we have no strong worldwide trusted institutions. There are none. If we can build a worldwide trusted institution that unites us all in this way, that this is massive for humanity, for structure of a decent worldwide society. This is a must eventually to have a worldwide society. And so therefore, this is a big leap in that direction. So how do we maintain that trust now? All I want our system to be is the search engine, which we may be able to work with Google. We might have to totally build our own. I'm not sure. That's a whole nother subject matter. But it basically comes down to the search engine and the data bank, and there's nothing else involved. It's raw data and the search engine. So there's no manipulation within that data. It's just raw data, right? So your opinions, basically, and where it's coming from, what demographics you are, and all the rest of that. And so all judgment, and this is built for the purpose of judgment. The entire thing is for the purpose of judgment. There's going to be many layers of judgment. There's going to be organizations that are combing our data to judge that data. They're going to be doing it for various reasons, good and bad. And they're going to be combing that data to gather information on our users. And our users are also going to be highly judged within our system. Judged by both corporations, entities, on various levels and types of judgment. I'll get into that a little bit more, but I just want to touch on anonymity. Okay, we want all the data we can on every opinion that's out there, but we can't force people to do that. I want to make it, but the way we need to do this is so that you have the option on every opinion you make, how open you want to be about who you are that made that opinion. So every time you make an opinion, you will kind of have everything set at a certain setting, but how you're comfortable, but you can turn it so that you are fully anonymous, or change it so that you are saying exactly who you are. Because let's say there are people out there that like to put signs on their front yard, right? To say what they believe in, whether it's a union or whether it's a presidential candidate or whatever it is. They put that sign on their front yard. They're doxing themselves. I want to make it possible for people to dox themselves in our system. If they want to put the sign in their front yard and say, I'm Brian Charlebois, and this is what the fuck I'm saying, right? Come and talk to me about it if you want to talk about it, right? I'm putting my name out there. I'm telling you this is where I live, right? That means something. That means a hell of a lot. If you are going to have an action of some kind against a person or a corporation or anything else, and you get a whole bunch of people that dox themselves fully to you to say that they're coming, they're going to be there, you can be pretty damn sure they're going to be there. And let me tell you, I've organized online many times, and you are lucky to get 5% or 10% of the people that say they're going to be there. You're doing good at 10%. Why? Because they're anonymous. You don't know them, right? If people are doxing themselves, that's going to frickin' mean something when you're trying to do an action online. This is the kind of putting it out there that we need. We don't have a level of doing that right now. When you put it out on Twitter, you just put it on Twitter. You don't put it out on Twitter and saying, this is where I live, and this is my name, and fucking come and get me, right? This is a whole nother level. So there goes the other way. You can access our system from a random computer anywhere in the world and make an opinion fully, they call that double anonymous. There's no way we can find out who you are. We will accept those opinions as well, right? Now, you as a user, when you go to look at an opinion, right? For most stuff, I will have a setting on mine. I'm going to set it so I'm not even going to see any of the anonymous opinions. I don't want to see the anonymous opinions about a restaurant. Chances are they're just somebody that doesn't like that restaurant because they hate the person that works there or something, right? I don't want anonymous opinions, so I sort them that way, and I'm looking for the person that tells me who they are and everything else, and that's the one. So I'm not even going to look at those. But if we're talking about China, and we're talking about something going on in China with the Uyghurs or something else, I'm going to look at all the anonymous opinions, right? Because they might have a bearing in this situation, because I could see a reason why a bunch of people might want to stay anonymous. So I want all the data. Once again, this is all the data. It's there. We don't even have to look at it if we don't need to. We can look at it if we need to. We have all the options available to us, whether or not we want to be double anonymous or whether or not we want to put a sign in our front yard, right? This is the kind of participation we need. And so as this grows, then there's going to be, you may have noticed when Trump became president, There was a whole bunch of people out there like Elon Musk talking about building a place to find out all the lies people are saying, or truth, the truth about stuff, what a fact sorting organization to sort through the facts that the politicians are feeding you, or you know different internet celebrities, right? To go through this information. Um, with our system, we are designed for that. We are designed so that other entities can now come in and start analyzing our data. So you and I, as users, we don't have time to analyze all this data, right? We can look at an opinion, we might decide whether or not we want to see the anonymous ones or not, and things like this, but you're not really going to get deep into sorting the data. This is where we're going to rely on our friends. And we all get to choose who our experts are, right? And chances are, just like me, when I have an issue and I want to talk to my friends about it, I go out and I ask them their opinions. But I don't give them all the same weight or value. My one friend, he might be an idiot. I don't, think I'll still ask him, but I'll put a certain amount of value to his opinion. And then I'll ask somebody that's, well, he's a real tech guy, so this is a touchy-feely thing. So I got to put that little twist on his opinion, right? And then this guy over here, oh, he's a big suck, and so you put certain weight on different opinions based on what you know about the people. So the same thing is going to happen. You're going to look at how these different entities, Elon Musk may be running a judgment system that's combing through our data, and you may like to see what he says about different opinions, or his system has come up with for about different opinions, and how they are judging those people. But as you look at that, you can also look at somebody else's. Michael Moore might be running one, or Donald Trump will be running one too. You might want to look at them all, and that's how you come to your opinion. You aren't analyzing all the data personally. They're going through it, and they are also analyzing you. So when you are voting on things or making an opinion, they're analyzing that data too. And you can look at what they think of what your opinion is, right? This is the feedback loop that we're missing. This is the feedback loop that allows us to gain sympathetic intelligence over time. The computers, these algorithms that these people are going to be running, they won't forget what happened last week or last month or 10, 20 years ago. And the stupid tweet you made, or the stupid tweet somebody else made, and you're making the same mistake again. And they can see that. And they can tell you, hey, your tweet there, you might want to erase that one. Here's why, It's like a friend looking at what you're doing, and you're going to take their advice based on who they are. But that advice will make you make better decisions, and it will remind you to be more sympathetic, and it will remind you to be more, more loving and more understanding of other people's opinions, because it will point out all the mistakes you made in the past and other people have made, not just yours. You've got the world of data to draw from.
Yeah, yeah. These are all very interesting points and interesting details about how you can make something like this work. It seems to me, though, that in order for this to be responsibly implemented and credibly implemented, there needs to be a drastic change in the way that we connect ourselves to other people and connect ourselves to nature. And that brings me to a quote you might be familiar with, Charles Eisenstein. So the quote goes like this: "We have to create conditions where people feel safe and feel safe to care." That goes against a lot of our programming about how to make something change in the world. Sometimes you can pressure people into changing, you can force them, but the powers that be have more force than we do. I don't think we're going to win in a contest of force. I think we need to induce a change of heart. A narrative of us versus them is ultimately part of the problem. Traditional activism, which is about overcoming the latest bad guy, isn't deep enough. It just brings us another version of the same. So I feel like what he's trying to say there is we've sort of we've lost we've voluntarily severed our connection to each other, to our inner selves, and to nature. And we've voluntarily isolated ourselves in a culture of technology and social media. And it seems that in order to properly diagnose the issues that we have and to even identify a plan of action, we need to reverse this severing and reconnect ourselves with our neighbor, reconnect ourselves with everybody around us, with our communities, because we don't have a
Yeah.
sense of community anymore. I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
listening to an interview that he actually was a few days ago, and he talked about one of his friends had moved somewhere, and he went to his neighbor's house and knocked on his door. And the guy opened the door and he said, "What are you doing here? You're trespassing." And he said, "Well, I just moved here and I want to get to know my neighbors. I want to form a bond of community with my neighbors." And he said, "You can't do that here. That's not how it works around here." And I think that's a big issue.
Yeah. Well, this to me falls into the category of judgment. And so right now, the internet is allowing us to be extremely harsh judges, and there's no consequences. And this is allowing us to dig deeper and deeper and deeper into this. And our lack of communication or connection to others is compounding this. And this is where I'm talking about more involvement and more involvement with the effects that come with that. And this is where I'm talking about judgment. If we're doing it right, is a good thing. And so this is where I'm saying that, if we have an entity where I'm doubling down on our ability to put our foot in our mouths. And with this system I'm going to create, it's going to be even worse than it is now for somebody to find themselves canceled in an instant, right? This means that there's only two ways we can go. We're either going to tear ourselves apart or we're going to become more sympathetic. We're going to become more sympathetic to the opinions of others and not be so harsh with our opinions, because when we do, this is where it goes. And then we're going to suffer the consequences of that. So if we are being the asshole harsh judges that we often are on the internet right now, those algorithms and things and those judgment systems I was talking about are going to downgrade our opinions. So when you are looking at an opinion on a restaurant, let's say a very popular restaurant, and then you're looking at those opinions through the filter of a judgment system like the one Elon Musk put together, let's say, and he looks at that and he's going through the data and he sees most of these people are assholes. He just eliminates 2/3 of them right off the bat because they just say stupid shit, right? And you've been eliminated. This is not a hidden fact that these people, they will tell you, how are you taking my opinion on this or that? And they will give you their rating on you. And this feedback now tells you, I better not be such a harsh freaking judge because they're not going to take any of my opinions. Who would? Right?
So is there a form of redemption in within this system?
Yeah.
And how I know that a lot of people, including myself, are fearful of a social credit score type of concept. So in what way does this differ from a social credit score, and in what way is there redemption built in?
Well, it's scarily close. Yes. We are getting very, very close to a social credit system. Um, I don't see a way around it. Because it's judgment. That's what it is, right? People that want to avoid that as the next step for society are people that are trying to avoid the judgment, both towards them and the other way around.
So I guess the question would be, how do we form a proper um, like syllabus for judgment?
Well, this is where I'm saying though that we always have this option of being anonymous to any degree that we want, right? So this gives us a bit of an outlet that way. If we want to be assholes, go to anonymous. you know,
Hmm.
and so but like I said, your opinion will be downgraded by most people. So this is real world. This is what the world is. When you go out in amongst your friends or amongst your community, right? Are you not living in a social credit system right now? Are they not judging what you're doing? Are they not seeing every time you go into the grocery store, you're the worst asshole there and nobody wants to help you? Right? That's part of a social credit system. You've lost your social credit if every time you go into the grocery store, you're the asshole, right? This is just the way life works. Now, this also means you don't want to be the harsh asshole. You don't want to be you want a system where there is lots of chance for redemption. And I believe there is. A real liberal is always giving an option for redemption. Always. There, the, you know, there is no. So when it's in our face, that's when I want to point this out. Though, when I talked about, everybody is created equal, that puts our hypocrisy in our face. And over time, as with that, we see it all the time. We're always, you're a racist or whatever it might be. That if you have any inclination to want to believe that belief that everybody's created equal, then it's a hypocrisy. Almost everything you do that can be at all construed as racist or elitist in any way. And it's that hypocrisy that makes us change. It's not right away. It's not a quick thing. People live their whole lives living in extremely deep hypocrisy. But when their kids see them in that and they grow up, they don't want to be in that hypocrisy, right? Generation. So it does change over time. And the more it is thrown in our face, the faster the change. So these being judged, building a system that judges us will help us be better judges. So we give people the option. We know we make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. And I guarantee all of us will go through a position, go through situations where we're very scared of being canceled. But that's what makes us wake up, right? If we don't go through that, we don't learn. And this is part of the learning process I'm talking about. It's on the job training. We're going through it right now. We are going through it now with the internet, but we can't find the order because we don't have enough data, right? When we get enough data, the order will start to come clearer. It will always look like chaos, just like the printing press still looks like chaos today. But we found some form of order, and we're going to find a much higher level of order when we get enough data along with the chaos that we're creating right now.
Yeah, I love the relationship between chaos and order and how it affects our societies. And it reminds me of an Alberta native, Jordan Peterson, talks quite a bit about chaos versus order,
Yes.
including I think almost all of his most recent books have either chaos or order in the title of them, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of Jordan Peterson in terms of his clinical work and his books. I find that he's very intelligent and has some great points. I think he's one of the most mischaracterized people out there,
Oh yeah.
and you might have some insight on that being from Alberta.
I don't think it gives me any extra insight, but I have my areas that I agree with Jordan. I don't think he's been overly clear in certain areas. I that whole thing I was talking about how everyone is created equal. I kind of got that in a roundabout way through a discussion, through the argument, the classic or the well-known argument anyway now between him and Sam Harris.
Hmm.
What is truth? And that's a perfect example of what he was saying. Is the whole notion of we are all created equal? It's not true. It's not true by any stretch of the imagination. But yet, if we take it as truth, then society moves forward. So, in his definition, it's true.
So yeah, so in his definition, truth isn't necessarily 2 plus 2 equals 4, but truth can be defined as something that enhances progress within a positive direction.
Correct. And he couldn't say it so succinctly to Sam Harris. I don't understand why he couldn't say it succinctly to him. I listened to another comedian who's kind of an idiot, I think. He actually put it much clearer and very similar to what I'm saying. And I think he even used the same example, which is, there's no truth to the statement that we are all created equal. And to me, that's the most glaring example. If Jordan would have used that as an example, I think Sam would have had a hard time arguing that that was not a truth.
It would have helped his argument too, because he's a proponent of competence hierarchies, and just innately in a competence hierarchy, there is not necessarily like a an equality of outcome, as he would put it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, he gets off on some tangents that I don't agree with as well. I don't agree with there's certain things Jordan Peterson says that I just cannot explain in any way that makes sense. And
Mhm.
same with Sam Harris when he says, "Have you caught him on the latest Gurus podcast?"
I haven't. I haven't.
Or not the latest, but he did a Decoding the Gurus podcast, which I've become quite a fan of. And he was nice enough to go on there, and not. It was a terrific discussion, one of the best pushbacks on Sam Harris I've ever heard, and where he willingly took it, and tried to argue in good faith, but he tries to say that he has no tribe, and they were pointing out he suffers from the effects of tribalism, and that there's just no doubt about it. And he just would not recognize this in any way, shape, or form, even though they're throwing it right in his face. It was a really good discussion. I hope Sam really deeply thinks about that discussion. And if it was a kind of an eye opener, I hope for him, but somehow I don't think it sunk in though.
Yeah, I definitely think he's an important thinker of our time, and he definitely has the ability to change his mind. He seems to be. It's like he tries to incorporate uh like spirituality into atheism, and he tries to incorporate like he tries to mix a lot of these ideas, and I think it's a good way to approach things, is to take the best of both worlds and sort of make them better than they could be by themselves together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm interested in his ideas about free will as well. I'm not sure I agree with him there so much, but I definitely understand what he's trying to get at.
I think it's a bit of a silly argument. It's understandable that they want to define things as best they can. It's not an area that I care to invest a whole lot of my time on. Because I'm very confident that it lies in the middle. We're not living in a free will world, and we're not living in a determinist world. And even Sam has admitted this. And so, everybody does eventually. At what level do you want to say one supersedes the other? Well, that's worth a lot of argument, I guess, and can lead to a lot of argument. But to me, there's no doubt that there's some of both. I think it was Jordan Peterson again that said something about the further you move into planning into the future, the less determinism takes place. It's more free will. If you're working towards a goal 20 years down the road, and you actually got to that goal, it's hard to say that there wasn't a certain amount of free will in the entire process that it took to get all the way to that. So anyway, I just don't see it as a clear cut choice of one or the other.
Well, Brian, I want to be respectful of your time, and it seems that we've
Yeah.
gone a little bit over an hour here. I really appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate your insights. Some of the stuff you're talking about is very interesting, revolutionary almost. And I definitely would like to talk again and see how maybe some of your ideas evolve.
Yeah, well, I'm here and available anytime you want to talk. I love talking about this stuff, so I really appreciate the opportunity to do so.